Digitalization is driving what is probably the most profound change in the retail banking industry that has been seen in a generation. This is a multifaceted and transformational change for most retail banks across many different dimensions: the customer experience, omni-channel sales and service, the underpinning technology platforms, the whole processes of the bank, and the organization itself that needs to move at a very different pace. We've been working with a group of roughly 80 banks around the world in our Retail Bank of the Future panel to understand just where the state of the industry is. And today, the state of the art is most advanced in Asia and in Europe, less so in the Americas. And there's a bit of a wake-up call in our work for the banks in the Americas that they are falling behind compared to the rest of the world. So what are the leaders doing? The leaders are following a number of very exciting practices around the world. First and foremost is really the customer experience has to be the North Star of this change. This is all about innovating convenient, easy, and engaging experiences for customers and living up to their expectations that they've learned in the retail business, they've learned in airlines, ways of using technology to make their lives easier. What we're finding is some of the leading banks around the world are picking customer experiences like, for example, helping a customer buy a home, helping a customer buy a car, move money, provision for retirement, and applying digital to make those really engaging experiences that are differentiating them compared to their competition. That requires some pretty profound changes in the way that the bank itself operates to innovate those types of things, but not only to do that, but to do it at a pace that is much more rapid than anyone has been used to historically. Not just because they're competing with other banks, but they're now competing with a myriad of startups that are in there trying to chip away at the lazy profit pools sitting within the banking industry. Our friend Sean Park of Anthemis has been tracking more than 3,500 of this. He calls it a Cambrian explosion of these startups that is occurring around the world. And it's very real as a threat to the industry. What we're finding is the response of the industry in many cases is engaging with that community, learning how to partner with them, venturing and maybe investing in some of those and thinking about which bits of those new experiences and technologies are most applicable to the bank. So all of those require a very different approach to innovation inside of the industry. That requires different talent. We're finding banks focusing on very different talent pools, reaching into the software industry, into the retail industry, to try and get people that are used to this idea of fast-paced design engineering on the front end of the business to make these types of experiences happen on a consistent basis over time. It's also at the back end of the business, some pretty profound replatforming, and the talent to be able to manage and understand some very far-reaching and large technology change programs that underpin this in many institutions. That requires also a unique set of skills. So there's a big talent change going on in the industry as well at this point in time. Not only that, all of this is really expensive. So for the average bank, we're talking about a bill that could reach to $1 to $2 to $3 billion if you're a 750 to 1,000 branch bank. That has to come from somewhere. There's no holiday in earnings that's allowed for this. And what we're finding is banks aggressively decommissioning things like legacy branch infrastructures, maybe 40% reduction in branches in many countries around the world. Finding as well, taking out IT costs, taking out legacy process that is too complex. So some profound changes to free up the money to pay for this journey. So all of this together, highly complicated. It requires some rigorous road mapping for banks around the world, planning and sequencing those changes to make them all work together. But nevertheless, if you're a retail banker, probably the most exciting time to have been in the industry in your generation.